As we enter into this week, you've done a lot of reading, writing, and thinking about the writing process so far. At this point, we're moving now into one of the last steps of the writing process for this project, which is revision. There are two main camps that people tend to fall into when it comes to revision. One is that they don't revise at all. It's one and done, just send in what you have and hope for the best. The other camp tends to be people who spend hours scrutinizing and revising their work, which can be agonizing and confusing. Our goal for this week is to help you fit somewhere else into that spectrum and not live at one of those extremes. Jillian Grumman's article is especially helpful when you've already received feedback from someone. She gives a step-by-step process for reviewing your feedback. Look at the comments you received. Think about your emotional reactions to the feedback. Develop some follow-up questions and determine what feedback you'll listen to and not listen to. Then you can get into actually making the changes in your writing. But what happens when you're writing and you don't have feedback from somebody else? You can still revise. The process just looks a little different. Ballpoint gives you some different concepts to focus on in your revisions, whether global, overarching, big changes, or local, small sentence level adjustments. There's a suggested process on what to look for and in what order, but without specific strategies for revising. It can be confusing to figure out how to move through those pieces. So we'll talk through a few different revision strategies that might be helpful as you work on revising your project. Likely, the easiest to start with is just a visual check. In looking at your writing, does it look balanced? Do you have paragraph breaks? Are all of the paragraphs roughly the same size? Or are there walls of text that need to be broken down? Can you see citations throughout the text? Do you need to cite some sources still, especially around quotes? If you're a visual person, you might also like a highlighter check of your draft too. Pick a highlighter color or a couple of colors and mark different elements of your project. I tend to highlight citations in one color and quotes in another, and this lets me see a visual balance of how much I'm writing on my own and how much I'm relying just on what someone else has said. If you've got the bulk of your writing as quotes, that's probably something to take another look at and cut down. Again, we talked about this in the video last week or a couple weeks ago, but you want to try and limit your quotes to less than 40 words or 4 lines of text. You are smart and you have good things to say. So don't just rely on someone else to say it for you. Just tell your reader what you know. Another option you have for doing a quick check of your project is to do a reverse outline. This revision strategy works well for longer, written, more formal writing. Essentially, you take notes on what you've written, make an outline of the project, and see if the structure makes sense when you review it. There are a number of ways that you can do this, but something I like to do is take the first and last sentence of every paragraph and use that as my reverse outline. It's a great way to check your topic and transition sentences in something like a research paper. Some folks like to make an outline where they show the topic sentences and then they include what sources or evidence is being used. That's another way to check the balance of your writing too, to see if there are any places that are really strong with evidence or places that are not as strong. The one thing that I do with everything that I write, whether it's an email, a research document, a PowerPoint, or a video script for this class, is to read it out loud. This is the best way that I've found to revise my work. It makes your brain focus in a different way on what you've written, how you've written it, and how you might change it. So when you read your work out loud, you're processing it visually since you're looking at it, but you're also processing it in the oral mode. So you're seeing how comfortable it feels to say out loud, and it helps you listen for where something might not be doing what you thought it would do, or it might not make as much sense as you'd hoped. Some students in the past have also taken advantage of Microsoft Word's read aloud feature. So if you hate listening to your own voice, you might pop your project into there and listen to Microsoft Word read it out for you. Now, what about something like ChatGPT? The writing program did a study about student use of AI in first-year writing classes like 103 and 104. And out of 477 responses, 72% of students are using it to improve their writing, and over 50% of students are using it to get feedback. I can understand why someone might be drawn to it. It's fast, It's accessible pretty much anytime and anywhere. And I'm sure that for most students, it feels better. It's a way to get feedback that doesn't feel personal, which is so often the problem that people have with feedback, like Grauman points out. However, just because I understand the reasons that someone might use it, that does not mean that I agree with it or that I think it's a good idea. We won't get into all of that here, but it's important to address the root issues of using generative AI to revise for you. If you're interested in using something like ChatGPT for feedback, there are lots of other routes from people that are trained and paid to give you feedback. I am one of them. The Writing Center is full of them. Nobody is going to know or understand the assignment better than I do since I created the project. And the people in the Writing Center have been working with students on my projects for the last few years now too. So they've got a pretty good understanding of what's going on. Your voice is also incredibly important in writing. It's part of what makes you stand out. When you feed something through AI, it loses your authentic voice and it replaces it with the same one that it's giving to everybody else. Your writing loses your style and it can affect the way your audience sees your writing. It no longer has that personal touch, and when something feels hands-off or sanitary or inauthentic, that can be detrimental to your writing because you lose your audience. Beyond that, like our syllabus policy says, we're concerned with the ethics of writing, especially when it comes to research. Using AI where it pulls from other people's writing, where it pulls from random pages on the internet, where it hallucinates and just makes things up, is not ethical. It is not ethical. AI does not check for credibility, and it does not, a lot of times, cite real sources. Those are two things that, as a researcher, you have an immense responsibility to do. If you want to improve your writing through getting feedback, especially as you're in the revision process, the best things you can do are: number 1, reach out to the Writing Center for a feedback appointment, or number 2, set up a time to talk with me. As always, I'm here to answer any questions, so feel free to send me an email.